Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Big on the Inside, a new Who Doctor Who Watch On podcast. Today I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm interviewing Libby, also known as Hybrid 1930 on Twitter. She is an amazingly talented illustrator, artist, whatever you want to call it. She's a big fan of Doctor Who, does a lot of Doctor Who art online, has a new comic book coming out. So we've just had a little chat about everything Doctor Who and what it's like in lockdown for a graphic designer. So stay tuned and enjoy.
I'm the Doctor. I'm a Time Lord. I'm from the planet Gallifrey in the constellation of Kasterborous.
I hope the ears are a bit less conspicuous this time.
You might be a doctor, but I am
I'm a doctor, but probably not the one you expect.
Absolutely fantastic.
All of time and space, everything that ever happened or ever will. Where do you want to start?
Hey, Libby, how you doing?
All right.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks.
So, sorry, go on. This is the only problem with Zoom is that I often find that I end up talking over absolutely everybody we ever talk to, so I do apologise.
Yeah, no, it's all right. It's not ideal, but yeah, I think we're all kind of getting used to it and stuff. There's distance and there's lag and things like that, but yeah, no, I'm all right. I'm a bit nervous, but yeah, that's normal. It's just talking to new people and stuff like that. But yeah, it's exciting stuff.
So I came across you on Twitter. People might know you better as Hybrid. Are you calling yourself Hybrid 1930 or 1930? How do you go about that?
Go for Hybrid 1930. I know there was another user who had Hybrid 12, and I kind of thought I could do a sort of play on that because there was, the whole timeline with 12th Doctor and the Hybrid and what was that in that series. And I kind of went back to my favourite subject, which I'm sure we'll get into, unfortunately. And I sort of said, yeah, I'll go with Hybrid 1930, T Dalek.
Yes.
Those, yeah. That's been up for about a year now. Is me using that account and me talking like that, and it's been really fun. It's been overwhelmingly positive. So yeah, it's all exciting stuff.
Yeah, because I came across you on Twitter. I noticed all this amazing Doctor Who art you were putting out. How come it's Doctor Who that is the art? I know there's other stuff on there, but it's mainly is Doctor Who stuff. So what is it about Doctor Who that you think lends itself to digital art really well?
I think more than anything, so for a start, I love Doctor Who. So of course that's what I'd be wanting to draw all the time. For my art in particular, I really enjoy and have loved doing character design. Ever since I was little, I really wanted to do children's storybooks. Growing up, I wanted to be a famous author. I remember when I was in year 5 at school, actually I think it was year 6, I told everyone very bravely in front of the whole class, I'm going to be an author, I'm going to publish a book. And everyone was like, oh yeah, Libby, she's going to publish the book, it's going to be brilliant. And the reason why I'd said that was because at the time my favourite book, Eragon, was which was Christopher Paolini. He was 15 when that was published, so 15 was my bar. I had to get something done by 15, and I loved dragons as well. It's really quite nerdy in that way. So I have to beat him. When time went by and I slipped past the age of 15, I was like, that's it, you failed. Can't publish anything now. You've missed your mark. That wasn't the case, fortunately, and it's interesting. I think Paolini was quite a big fan as well of Doctor Who because he made a few references in the book. I'm not such a big fan of those as I was, and I apologise if I'm rambling as well.
No, it's fine, honestly.
Yeah, no. But yeah, so Doctor Who first came on for me. I joined with a new series. It was more or less, the first I'd ever heard of it or seen anything. I must have been 9. So it was 9 with the Night Doctor. And it scared the hell out of me. I wasn't even behind the sofa. I wasn't in the room. I was upstairs. My brother reiterated what happened in The Empty Child. We had a sleepless fortnight after that. And I don't know. I sort of, it was sort of the second series that I started sort of peeking my head around the door and sort of coming in, and we had, Christopher was amazing. David also absolutely incredible. And I just sort of fell in love with it. I loved, the charisma and the adventures, and the thing that had scared me about it, which was the idea of everything being normal and then being ruined by some sort of alien interference, and you've got no idea what's going on, and sort of everything you thought you knew getting messed up and destroyed. That became the opposite. It was like, for goodness sakes, I want to have an adventure. I want something really cool to happen. And I think as well, because Doctor Who is set in Britain and is sort of a staple of British pop culture, there's that other link as well. It's like places that you see and potentially places that and you may have been, and you get references and stuff. It kind of makes it feel quite special. So for a long time I was quite shy about, especially when I was a teenager, about being into Doctor Who, whether I was into it in the right way, if you know what I mean, like kind of, did I read the right books, did I kind of hang out with the right people?
No, I understand. I think everyone's there, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely.
I know, like when I was at secondary school, and like you're like maybe like year, I don't know, 8 or 9, and you're like, yeah, I like Doctor Who, and they're like, you like that kid shirt? I'm like, oh, calm down, mate. It's not a kid shirt.
Yeah.
But I agree with you.
I
think
know, and you have to sort of,
oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah, you have to sort of backpedal. I don't really like Doctor Who, but then at the same time, everyone kind of gets over that hump, and everyone just sort of, after a while, just admitted, yeah, it's a good show. I enjoy Doctor Who. I watched it at the weekend.
Exactly, and I feel like,
and everyone gets the references. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone does get the references, and people. I feel like sometimes people pick up on references and make the references without actually realizing where the reference originally comes from.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that when everyone was wearing sort of bow ties are cool t-shirt, and was like, this is cool, that is cool, that had come off Matt Smith. And I think after a while everyone sort of forgot where that had come from as well, which was quite nice in a way, because you sort of smile knowingly to yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I suppose Doctor Who as well does lend itself quite well to a creative fan base, especially people like yourself who, would you class yourself as like a digital artist then?
I always put multidisciplinary because big words make me sound clever. But I have digital, and digital has so many advantages. People use digital out of convenience more than anything, and that's not cheating, that's being smart. But I'm happy to work in anything. I'm very crafty. I do a lot of sort of knitting and prop making and things like that. Not to the level that some people do, because you get amazing cosplayers and prop builders and things like that. And I'll probably delve into that at some point. But for the moment, I'm kind of it's like how much time do I have? Can I afford all the materials, kind of thing? But yeah, I draw traditional. I draw digital because that's fun. I try painting. I try as many different mediums as I can, and I'll often, when I'm coming up with my original stuff, just to sort of, to warm up, or just sometimes when I was working, just in the margins of my note pages and stuff, I just doodle something Who related. And it's funny, but that's kind of how, it was boring lessons where I kind of taught myself to draw. I just draw, for example, I think a lot of arty people relate to his eyes over and over again, just on a back page of something, and you have like a happy eye, an angry eye, and you just keep going and honing. You can get really, really good if you've had very boring schooling. So
yeah, now you say that, I do remember a distinct notice of people drawing eyes in maths books and science textbooks. There was that thing of like around 2013 of people just drawing eyes. Like, you go on YouTube and it'd be endless tutorials on how to draw an eye.
Yeah, especially manga eyes, and I really love my manga as well. People do that. You can get people who can draw an eye amazingly well, like sort of fill a whole A4 sheet with an eye, but they can't draw the rest of the body. They can just draw an eye, and it's great. It's like, that's amazing, but you can it's quite daunting to move away from the kind of one thing that you're most confident in. And it's the old saying, the eye is the window to the soul. I think that's why people are drawn to eyes, and they have a lot of symbolic meaning and stuff, because when you look at a person, that's the first part of their face they look at. And after they are sort of the most expressive part of the body as well, so we're just sort of programmed to find them interesting, I think. So yeah.
No, definitely, yeah. Is there an incarnation of the Doctor which is your favourite to draw? Because I imagine one's like maybe the Sixth Doctor with his coat and all the magical colours of it must be slightly daunting. But where you look at someone like Christopher Eccleston, he's mainly just a leather jacket and some black trousers.
Yeah, no, it's a bit of a cheeky one, a bit of an obvious one. At the moment, it's been Jodie, who I've liked to draw the most, so the 13th Doctor. Just because I just really, really relate to her. For a start, it was kind of like, not going too much into it, because I know how people can get very about it, but won't talk about that here. This is a nice place. It kind of like went from, I as a girl can maybe go on an adventure with the Doctor. It was kind of like, I can be the Doctor.
Yeah, definitely.
And I love the way she looks. She is quite fairly pretty, and sort of drawing girls sometimes comes a lot easier. For whatever reason, I find I've probably drawn her the most. After that, I'd say it was the 10th Doctor who I drawn the most, and he's very, very fun to draw because he's just so expressive, but he has quite a difficult face to sort of get right.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. Like, you can draw someone and do like the hairstyle, the sort of flicky fringe and the sideburns, but that, and people look at that and go, oh, yes, that's David Tennant, and he's got the costume and stuff. But his actual face and the way it looks, it's actually very specific. He's got very sort of dark eyes and sort of head shape and stuff like that. It's hard to get right, so I kind of almost gave myself a quote unquote boot camp where I just sat one evening and just tried to fill an A3 sheet with as many drawings and copy drawings of him as I could, just to try and get him right. And I still have to kind of really work at it to get him right. And I think mostly I draw him most because he was the Doctor that I saw the most and kind of most fell in love with as a character. At first, he was kind of quote unquote my Doctor, but I do genuinely love them all and I enjoy them all, and I think just the joy of having a character who can be so many different things, just as you say, just has so much creative potential and art potential, that I think we are really lucky in that sense, because I don't think there's really anything else like that anywhere.
No, I definitely agree. I mean, it is almost, I think, especially with Doctor, like you look at James Bond, there is a handful of actors who play James Bond, but they all look the same and they all wear black suits. But then you have the Doctor, and each costume is not off the high street, is it? It's like, I remember watching an interview with Jodie where she spoke about her costume, and she said she was just scrolling through like Instagram or something one day and came across this picture of a lady crossing the road, and she saved that picture and went, I love this, what she's wearing, because it's feminine, but at the same time, it isn't, look at me, I'm a lady, I'm a woman wearing woman's clothes. It's just, these are the clothes that I'm wearing.
Yeah, and I love that. I do love that outfit, and it's just so fun. My mum's kind of accidentally got that outfit. She's got the sort of trousers, and she's got a pair of sort of Doc Martens shoes with like quite chunky boots, and she has her hair as well. So she was like, "Look at me, I'm the Doctor." And I was like, "Oh God, Mum!"
I know. I remember.
Family,
yeah, kids do that. I remember. I remember being a kid and just going, "Dad, do you have like a long brown coat?" It's like, why? I'm like, oh, no reason.
Yeah, no. I'm like, oh, it's to do with Doctor Who. You go, oh, no, it isn't. Which is a shame, because so far when I talk about it, I do feel, I talk about being a little bit embarrassed about it, which is silly, really. So, because you should just enjoy what you like.
Well,
My dad's a cricket nut, and he gave me one of his old cricket jumpers, and it was actually, at the time, it was really, really in to wear the most baggy sort of vintage jumper you could find.
Yeah.
This one had sort of like red scrape marks on it where he'd been sort of polishing the ball to throw it, And so I was like, oh, thanks, Dad. But it was a bit itchy and scratchy and stuff like that. But now, Peter Davidson, I can wear that.
Yeah,
and I can
exactly.
do
Yeah.
cosplay out of that. There is a really lovely sort of portrait of Jodie Whittaker wearing, sort of cosplaying as him, but in a very feminine way. Like it's all very fitted, and it's more like an homage rather than, sort of full on. But yeah, and putting a little bit of your favourite Doctor into what you wear every day, and sometimes people pick up on it and sometimes people don't, but just sort of like having that's quite a precious thing, and it can cheer you up as well when you're having maybe a funny day or something.
Yeah, no, I definitely remember owning a pair of red Converses as a kid and being like, yeah, I know where I'm wearing these.
Oh yeah.
So
I've got a pair of.
Sorry, go on.
Oh no. Well, I was just going to say I have a pair of white ones which I've had for over a year now, and they look pretty cool.
Yeah.
I do have a trench coat. Don't have a brown suit. I have to borrow a tie from someone. I have one tie. It's a very chunky sort of 70s tie, and I got it from a vintage shop. But that's my tie that I have, and I pair with everything. So
yeah,
that was good buy.
Is 10 your favourite then? Is he your Doctor?
I don't know. I don't really think that I do have a definitive Doctor, and I don't say that to be diplomatic, because there's just so many things that I like about all the different Doctors. I think in terms of like the time that I got into it, yes, probably. My favourite Doctor is 12. For lots of reasons. I kind of, I like Peter Capaldi. I think he's a really good actor. I like the way he looks. I like the way he's quite minimal. We talk about clothes a lot in this conversation, but I like, an older guy wearing a hoodie. Why not? I love that. And how he's kind of a bit of a rocker. He's got his guitar and stuff. I really relate to that because I really do like, a good bit of classic rock and stuff like that. I just kind of feel a bit of an affiliation with that. I kind of get him, and sometimes when he's a bit harsh as a character, or can be quite frightening, I've always kind of understood where he's coming from. Not to condone being cruel and stuff like that, but yeah, no, he just feels so right. I kind of have something positive to say about each one, and for me, I think he was born to play the Doctor.
Yeah, definitely. He's also a version of Doctor that is probably quite known for his diverse costume. It stays pretty similar, hoodie under a jacket with a t-shirt, but sometimes it's a jumper, sometimes the jacket has a nice red lining. So when you're drawing these characters, how do you pick which version of the costume you would like to pick?
Well, I'm a total, it often depends on my mood, but also I'm a total Pinterest nut. So when I start any drawing, what I do first is I go on Pinterest and I look through. I just gather as many images as I can and sort of just look at them, try and sort of think of the mood I want to establish. Often I'll have an idea in my head of what I want to do, where I want to go with it. And then, depending on what I find, I'll change my mind or I won't change my mind. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I do it.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting because I know when I've done, obviously, doing the podcast, but I have to do some semi-graphic work as well. And I often find myself disappearing into a Pinterest hole of going, I've never seen this picture of the Seventh Doctor before. Where did this come from? And then you just disappear into nowhere, yeah.
Yeah, I have, and you have GIFs as well, and sometimes you can just, just a little section of them acting or saying something, and you can, like, oh, I like the move that creates, I really want to capture that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And the unfortunate thing, again, is, so it's the Doctor who is the biggest, I've put out so much stuff with the Doctor. I've been doing my sort of series of just drawing every single one, working backwards. And I've only got Hartnell to do now. It's only the first Doctor, so I'm nearly done. I say only. I'm not gonna stop. I'm probably gonna draw them again at some point. Yeah, I've been sort of on the outside, but not completely, because my absolute favourite thing of them all has been the Daleks.
Yes.
Being a Dalek fan, which is a funny position to be in. Well, not always, but for all kinds of reasons. And that's tricky, of course, because of like copyright and stuff like that. It's like, you know, it's a bit like Fort Knox. They had trouble getting them back on the show. I don't even know if we're allowed to talk about them on here. I'm sure we are. But...
Yeah, I'm sure we are, but I know what you mean. Whenever we do little video segments of our podcast, trying to source clips that we can use with the videos that aren't going to instantly get flagged up by the BBC is almost a challenge within itself. So, no, I know what you mean. I've got friends who do some graphic design work, and they, you know, release, especially at the moment with COVID, they've been doing custom face masks, but trying to get around loopholes of, well, I want to use this celebrity, but obviously I can't just put them straight on the face mask. So what represents them and what can I use that isn't directly them that won't get me in trouble? And so, yeah, it's definitely a minefield. When we spoke on Twitter, you mentioned that you've just co-illustrated a new book called The Renegades, Atric Meltdown. What is that book about? Because I had a quick look on Amazon, and it does look really interesting.
Thank you. So what that is it's a comic about tackling climate change by 3 individuals who have superpowers. So essentially, it's a superhero graphic novel. And it's been amazing to work on it. It's been so fun. But a big component as well that we've all kind of gotten into was you know, more than anything, almost climate anxiety. And so there is a really big sort of focus on mental health as well. And actually, because I was feeling anxious about that sort of thing, that I spoke to I sort of got in touch with them in the first place, because it was like, you know, you've said that that's what you want your comic to be about, and this is something I feel very passionate about. And it's been a really amazing experience. So that's out on the 1st of October.
Yeah, by the time this episode goes out, I believe it'll already be out. So I'll link it in the description for people to go and have a source.
So available in all good bookstores. It's available on Amazon and in Waterstones. So if that's anything you think you fancy checking out, and of course it's like, you know, it's sort of pre-teen to older kind of age group. So, you know, anyone can pick it up. But something that's been really positive actually is because it's published under Dorling Kindersley, is going international with it, because we've had some really positive feedback from, you know, the American publishers, and then saying, you know, we'd quite like to have sort of hardback copies of it, which we weren't originally going to do, but because they thought, you know, we want school libraries to have these because it's a very important issue. And the Jeremy, who is our, you know, the sort of, it's his brainchild, the comic, he does he studies geography and climate science and stuff, so the science is very on point. That's very sort of, well, you know, we have giant, you know, methane breathing kaiju, so you know, it's not completely accurate science, but you've got to have some creative liberty.
No, definitely.
And but you know, it's very sort of positive ways forward. You know, what can you actually do, you know, to help in terms of, like, you know, it doesn't, you know, things about climate striking and stuff, and almost, you know, things that are a little bit difficult and almost a little bit more nuanced.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm so glad to have been involved in that. And we're already working on the sequel, so that's exciting too. That's in the works.
Oh, great news. It sounds like it's definitely, from what you said, it's a very now story. You know, it's dealing with issues that are relevant now.
Oh, yes.
It seems impossible for it not to gain some sort of interest from people, especially within the circle of, you know, these activists who are very interested and very passionate about pushing this message. And hopefully this will go some way to, you know, reaching new people and getting more people aware of the issues.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, I'm so glad that projects like this have existed. Just, you know, just working on it and being a part of it has made me feel like I'm doing something, even if it means sort of sitting at my desk all day,
Yeah.
talking about it. It has been, I think it's a really valuable tool, and I think it's really going to help in a lot of big ways, hopefully. So yeah, absolutely brilliant.
How do you go about co-illustrating something? Because I always imagine that you get the story, and then they give you a rough idea of maybe what the characters look like, and then you do some rough designs, and then they, whoever's in charge will, you go, oh, no, I like this one. But when you have a co-illustrator, and during lockdown as well, how has that been? Has that been a challenge to sort of get around?
Not at all, actually, because communicating hasn't been a problem at all. We already live in like such a digital world, so you just send a text message to someone.
Yeah.
They're all up in London. I was traveling up to see them. And that would take a long time. I don't mind that journey at all. If anything, kind of because of COVID, because we can have Zoom meetings, it's so much cheaper. You don't have to leave the house, and you can do it. So it's been fine. So reason why we had 2 illustrators was because for time management more than anything, and and again, that's been nothing but positive. We have slightly different styles, but we both sort of took, sort of not diverged, the opposite, sort of came together as like sort of, so you can tell when I've done something, you can tell when my colleague's done something.
Yeah.
But, sort of, it's, we just sort of divided up the scripts, like, okay, if you do these chapters, then you do these chapters. So we can be working on more than one chapter at the same time. And then we have the colorist who would, again, huge weight off our shoulders, because we don't need to be doing the color ourselves. We just need to do the line work. And so it's a lot easier than you think. And it's kind of nice because we just supported each other. There's things about her artwork that I absolutely adore, that she's really good at, and there's things that I'm quite good at, but she's really pleased about. We've kind of sort of just helped each other and encouraged each other, and it's really fun. When you think about a lot of comic anthologies, you think about all the different artists who work on, say, the same Marvel character over the years. And sometimes you get sort of guest illustrators and stuff like that, so it's not unusual, and it's been and I think having that bit of diversity as well is quite fun, because it was sort of interesting storytelling, showing because we have different ideas. I quite like cinematography and stuff like that, so I quite like sort of playing around with frames and how we're going to do that. My colleague wasn't so into that at first, not because of the lack of trying, but just because I hadn't really thought about it, and they became a lot more experimental too. So an interesting way of working, and it's been really beneficial.
It'll be interesting to see if your readers will be able to spot the difference between the 2 artists. Because I know sometimes when I read a comic book, you'll be like, issue 1 illustrated by X, and then you go to like issue 12 and it's a different artist. You're like, hang on a minute. But from what you said, it sounds like you've come to sort of a common ground, like a middle ground of a blend of styles.
I mean, well, you can tell when it's a different. You can tell when it's a different artist. You can tell my work from hers. I think it would have been a shame if we had sort of been very stuck to the same style, because then sort of things that made us individual and that we could bring to the artwork as separate people would be lost a bit. But I remember it is sometimes quite jarring when it's suddenly a different artist. You're like, hello, and you're kind of, sometimes you can be a bit aggressive in a way. It's like, oh, but I like the old artist, and then after a while, often you look at the art, you're like, no, this is just as good. It's just different.
Exactly, yeah. During lockdown, I imagine there's a lot of people who have started to get into more creative aspects, podcasts, writing screenplays, books, illustrations. For people who are wanting to get into this, what advice would you give them? Is there a certain software that they should buy? Should they have drawing pads? What do you think is the best way to go about it?
So personally, I think the best way to go about it is to, and people hate it when I say this, is to just start drawing. And well, people hate it because it's very, very vague. It's like, yeah, but how? I want to draw, but I want to get good. My thing is, well, I'm autistic as well, so kind of like I have that kind of drive to draw. That is the thing I want to do. That is the thing I want to keep doing. So I've always, doodled and scribbled all my life. So yeah, if you have an idea, I'd say, just draw. You might be surprised. Don't be afraid to draw your work and put it out there. People often worry about art theft.
Yeah.
And sure, while that's a problem, it's technically a form of copyright if you post your work online. Sure, people can trace it and things like that, because once it's online, there is a date that proves that you were the first person to make that image, because it's been posted there and it's been on there since X date. So don't worry about that. If you do a rubbish drawing, or you look back on a drawing and you're like, oh, that was really shocking. I can't believe I would I can't believe I did that.
Yeah.
You can there's more where that came from. Okay, you drew it bad this time, but tomorrow you could do a lot better. Be inspired, definitely. Go, if it's an artist you like and you part of you wants to be like them, be inspired by them. Don't be afraid to sort of copy drawings that they've done. It's usually best if you don't post those online, not so much because of copyright again, or if you are going to post them online, say where you got it from originally, but it's also because that's not you. And that balance is again a bit of a tough one.
Yeah, I know, because I do some freelance photography now and again, and you post a photo online and it'll get some good traction, and then you start you're looking at the accounts that have liked it, and half a dozen of them have reposted your image, but they don't always give you credit or tag you in the image. Have you come across some of your stuff online before and gone, hang on a minute, that's mine? And
well, it's interesting. Someone did, so the last Dr. Little did, so Patrick Troughton, someone did sort of go, oh yeah, I'm stealing this in a sort of jokey way, and used it as their profile picture, and that wasn't a problem because I don't know whether they posted or not, but it was kind of a little bit okay, like could have just do that.
Yeah.
Take that. I haven't really. I've been quite lucky, either lucky or a bit dense, to not go looking, because I'm not, even if people did do that, it's not very, if people can't actually do my art the way that I do, it will become very obvious very quickly. So it's not the end of the world. But yeah, just be brave about it. You will, if you want to do art, you will develop a thick skin if you just have a sort of growth mindset. Sounds very sort of boardroom. Yeah, I say just don't be afraid to give it a go. Don't be afraid to, especially with something like fan art. You have a built-in community.
Yeah.
People who are going to be looking at your artwork and seeing you improve. So, as well, online and stuff, talk to friends. If you have someone that you trust quite well to be honest with you, ask for critiques. And they'll all sort of have a sort of goal that you work towards. So like, it helps to understand what the artists who you aspire to, or the sort of positions that you aspire to have, and what it takes to get there. And, being honest with yourself when you're not quite there yet, but in a positive way. You think, I'm not like that yet, but I can be if I just keep trying. And, sometimes you're doing way better than you think as well. So, something you draw which looks awful is going to look amazing to someone else because they didn't do it, and because you've done it and it's your thing and they've not seen it before.
No, I definitely agree. This probably seems like a better time than ever to ask, does this mean I have your permission to use some of your drawings in the thumbnail for this video?
You can use some of my drawings as a thumbnail of this video.
Otherwise it would be a very boring thumbnail. Talk to this amazingly but we show none of her work.
Yeah, no. So she's good. Take our word for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been so kind of more than anything. Is it all right if I kind of go on to like, do we have a particular time limit or
No, honestly, talk for as long as you
anything
like.
like that? Oh, as long as I like, eh? So, yeah. Okay. In which case, do you have does like anything else in particular you'd like to ask or anything like that of me, sort of?
Yeah, well, we touched on it. Well, considering this is a Doctor Who podcast, we'll throw ourselves back into that world. Is there? We know that you really like to draw 10 and 13. Is there one that just doesn't feel right, or one that you're drawing, you're like, oh, I'm not feeling this?
Do you know what? I have to say no, to be honest, because I think everybody brings something new to in every single person that you ever see, and every drawer is something that you can capture, and something you can emulate and something you can show to people. That's going to be really, everyone has something that they brought to a role, and there's, especially, as I say, especially with character design, you look at sort of Disney designers, they're not always drawing princesses. They'll often go out and exercise just by drawing people they see on the street and be like a caricature of some old man they saw on a bus, and they make it look gobsmacking and make it look incredible, and like every little part of their face, make it work together and making a character out of it. And it's the same with all the Doctors. One I struggled most with was the War Doctor, so John Hurt, because I love John Hurt as an actor, bless him, and I really wanted to do right by him, so I started drawing him and made it very dead Daleks everywhere, and all this sort of really dark colours, and sort of contrasting colours, and him sort of standing there looking really grim. And I went too realistic with the way I was drawing him, and I was like, oh, I don't feel this drawing. I don't really know what I can do to improve it, but it just feels like it's not me, the way I'm doing it. And a few days later, I did a doodle of him. I looked at the doodle and went, yeah, that's it. That's the drawing I want to use up. And it's, out of all of them, it's the simplest one I've got. It's just him walking. It is like very scribbly. It's just him walking away, black and white, no colour, looking behind him, just having this slight smile on his face, like he sort of thought of something funny. And I think something little like that as well can, because you can do the obvious stuff of the War Doctor. He's on Gallifrey and it's all going downhill, and you can do the obvious thing, but then I often like doing things that are a little bit unexpected. And with John Hurt, it just seemed like the right thing. And as I say, because I just loved him in all the things that he did before, Alien, grew up watching Merlin a lot, but so that was kind of a big thing. But no, and just 1984 as well. That's, I don't know why. Well, every sort of moody, pretentious teenager gets excited about 1984 at some point.
They do. They definitely do.
But just having that little tribute and doing it in my own way, that was really satisfying, and I'm glad I did it like that. And I'd look forward to picking up a pencil and drawing him again sometime. It's really fun. It's really exciting. It's all these possibilities.
When you start a drawing, then do you have to sort of go, how would Libby draw this? Do you have to sort of remind yourself how you would draw it, or does it just so natural now, that sort of cartoony style that you go for?
I do kind of, and I apologise for interrupting again, but I do kind of sort of go, I do think, oh, how would Libby do it? How would Libby do it? But then I realise by doing that, I'm pushing it too much, and it's going to be unnatural. It's best when I just relax and see what happens, to be honest.
Yes. I suppose if you think about it too much, you could almost become a sort of a caricature of your own artwork. It's like, this is the most Libby drawing there is, whereas if you just strip it back a bit, you're going to find the true art within it.
Yeah, for sure.
We touched on it briefly with your new with the new book, Climate Change. There's in Doctor Who, it's becoming, to some people, more and more political and dealing with world issues, which is something that, let's be honest, it's sort of always done. Why do you think it's important for, big mainstream shows to deal with issues like that? And why do you feel some people retaliate against it and don't want it in, their sci-fi programs?
I think I'll get onto it as being a big point. I've always been an overthinker, so I'm a very conscientious person. It sounds really, really pretentious to say that, but I think everything is inherently political, which sounds really over the top. But I think the choice not to show things in a certain way is also political. We, now saying, oh, it's too PC, it's, all these special snowflakes, ignores, the very start. But think of, first place they go to Skaro. And what is Skaro? It is a metaphor or a sort of parable for what could happen to Earth if there was, if the bomb was dropped, if there was a Cold War, like the sort of ultimate worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Everyone's so badly mutated and burned that they're confined to these machines and just have been completely designed around and bred around war and conflict. And that is, I think as a kid as well, you think a lot of people, you don't necessarily see that parallel because you don't really quite understand what's going on in the world. So yeah, there's that, and it's interesting to watch it evolve. They all encapsulate the fears of their time. I think as well, the Nazi influence, a lot of people were scared about. I think it was Nyder in Genesis of the Daleks. I can't remember. I think in the first episode of that serial, he had an Iron Cross on his uniform, and then afterwards he wasn't wearing it anymore because someone had obviously gone, that's a bit too on the nose. It's a bit too obvious. It could, potentially even offensive and quite scary. I think that media does have to. There's ways to be political and to put forward issues. There's ways of doing it that are ineffective and preachy, and there are ways that are very, very effective, and ways that are more subtle. One of my favourite films of all time is Princess Mononoke, the Studio Ghibli film, and it's an environmental film about destroying environments where animals live, and the sort of battle between humanity and the wild world. And it is a very divisive film because it doesn't have, the humans would be the obvious bad guys, but they're not played as bad guys. The humans are actually a lot more likable than a lot of the animals in this film.
Yeah.
And having that nuance, I think as well, being passionate about something, being passionate about the world, being inspired by the world, and even sort of driven to action by what you see around you is why we create in the first place, because we want to say something. I think people, and I think people have a backlash to that because it makes them uncomfortable. And it makes them uncomfortable because it's saying, here is something going on in the world. And, the thought that there is something that you could potentially do about it, you don't want to be doing that. You feel quite powerless when you're sitting on your sofa watching TV. You're like, well, what can I do? And I think, to be honest, a lot of it's very big to say this, I think, but I think all kind of derision and every backlash to it does come from a place, to things being political, does come from a place of fear. I think it always does, and people will try and deny that, but not wanting to face things, not wanting to kind of analyze oneself. It's important to be uncomfortable, I think. I think with the, I'm not qualified to talk on it exactly because it's not my experience, but think about the Black Lives Matter movement and things like that are all going on.
Yeah, in some ways it would almost be irresponsible to be able to helm a show like Doctor Who or something that has such big viewing figures and not in some way indirectly mention issues that are real world issues that could a solution could be put forward or suggested or nudged in the right direction by someone watching this program.
Yeah, and as well, the Doctor's a hero. The Doctor is going around trying to, something I did used to think a lot with sort of, Russell T Davies and Moffat's show running was that, they're going and saving the universe. I thought, what about here? There's lots of problems going here. Is the thing of it, even if, and they do sort of say, is Earth worth saving? Are we good enough? Are we moral enough? Do we deserve to be saved? And that's always sort of quite an existential question. Something I have really loved, and it's not everyone's thing. I have really loved how Chibnall has, tried to come back to Earth. We go to places like, like Punjab and to deep south in America and things like that, and do actually go, and it's not to do go, look, here's what's going on, and it's not quite as Anglo-centric as well, because it was like, oh, all these bad things, don't worry, we saved London, we saved New York, places like that, and I was kind of like, what about the rest of the world? There's a lot, there's
not
a
just
lot
these
of
big
world
landmark cities. Exactly.
Saved the empire.
Yes.
Yes, and that's not to say that other showrunners didn't do that. I was, I've only really got, because I had a lot on at the time, I didn't really see, Season with Bill in it. Now that I'm watching that, that talks about politics. My favourite story of all is The Empty Child now, ironically, after that scared me. And watching that, it's the scariest one for me, not just because there's gas masks on these, but it just feels incredibly morbid in a good way. Like, atmosphere is perfect, and also it feels like the entire point of the plot is kind of, the things that go unsaid, so taboos and things like that. There is, in the script, and things people say, mistreatment of kids in like the darkest ways possible, and things that actually do happen, and it doesn't shy away from that. Actually, watching it back, I was quite taken back. I was quite surprised that it actually went to that place, and I'm so glad it did. I think that's supremely powerful, and I think I'm so grateful for it for doing that.
No, it's definitely one of the big positives of the show is how it's able to mention real world issues, or like even with the case of the Empty Child, the issues that have, like 50, 60, 70 years old, but still important to remember.
Yeah.
So it's been, sorry, go on, Libby, Carol.
Yeah, it's been a, it's the point of anything historical. What we choose to speak about is paying tribute to that thing. It's cementing that in the imagination, and we have everyone from Shakespeare to Rosa Parks. That's very important who we decide to talk about.
No, definitely. It's been absolutely great having you on, Libby. I am going to have to run off soon because I know I've got my co-host Harry waiting for an 8 o'clock start for our podcast. So I will have to run a shot. But thank you so much for coming on. It's been a wonderful conversation. I feel we've talked about an awful lot of different aspects of Doctor Who, a lot that we wouldn't normally talk about on the show. So I can't thank you enough for coming on and giving us your time.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
It's all right. If people want to see some of your artwork, where can they source you? Where can they find you?
Okay, so I'm on Instagram. I'm at Lilliput1995, and that's that's capital LILIPUTT 95. I'm at T_Dalek on Twitter. Those are kind of my main sources that I do. Something that I'm working on and really, really so lost on. I wish I'd had more of an opportunity to talk about this earlier. I'm working on a fan project. I have no clue where it's going or where it's going to go or who's going to see it and things like that, but I am going to be posting and talking about that, and I'm really excited. Also, there's a Black Lives Matter zine that we're doing, which is painting it black, and there'll be, which I'm really excited about. I've contributed a story to that. Please go have a look. All proceeds go to charity. There'll be more posts about that on my chat. So yeah, give me a follow if you think you'd like that sort of thing.
We'll definitely have to have you on again later when your fan projects are ready. We can definitely we can chat about them and see how everything goes with that as well.
Oh yeah, I hope so. It'll be really exciting. Okay,
Yeah.
well, thank you so much for having me as well.
No,
It's been lovely chatting, and yeah, good luck with the future and future episodes and future listeners.
Yeah, the future's a bit bleak at the moment here in the UK, isn't it? So we'll just the internet's our escapism.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think future's in our hands. There's always you can always do more than you think.
There you go.
So
See, there's two minds there. Mine was hiding the internet. Yours is let's do something about it. Be more like Libby, everybody.
Oh, thank you very much. You don't want to be like me. Okay.
Thank you very much,
seeing you,
Libby.
and yeah. Okay, bye.
So there you have it. That was a nice, quite a lengthy interview with Libby. So gracious for giving me so much of her time. Really interesting, a lot of information there for people who want to get into graphic design. Yeah, thanks very much. Go and check her out. Honestly, I'll leave some stuff in the description for you to go and find her. So on that note, thanks very much. Don't forget to subscribe and all that, and see you later. Bye.